This is the story of an old widow who lived alone in a distant land of cold and ice. Far away in the snowy hills stood a small wooden house. In that lonely place lived an old woman. She had no family with her. After losing her husband many years ago, she survived on her own. Life in that frozen land was never easy, but she had learned to endure it. Every morning she woke up before sunrise. The cold air filled her tiny house, and sometimes the frost covered the windows like white glass. She wrapped her old shawl tightly around herself and slowly stepped outside. Snow covered the ground in every direction. The trees stood silent and frozen. The wind blew across the hills like a warning. The old widow walked carefully through the snow to gather small pieces of wood. These pieces of wood were precious to her. Without fire, she could not survive the freezing nights. After collecting enough wood, she returned home and lit a small fire inside her stove. Soon the flames began to crackle softly. The warmth slowly filled the room. She cooked a simple meal and sat close to the fire, stretching her hands toward the warmth. That small fire was her only comfort in the cold world. But one evening, something unusual happened. As darkness covered the hills, she heard a long and frightening sound echo through the distance. Wolves were howling. The sound sent fear through her heart. She knew the meaning of those howls. Wolves often came down from the mountains during harsh winters, searching for food. Many times before, wolves had come close to her house. Sometimes they circled outside during the night. Their footsteps could be heard in the snow. Still, she never lost courage. She checked the wooden door and pushed a heavy chair against it. She made sure the windows were tightly closed. Outside, the wind howled, and somewhere in the darkness, the wolves answered. Winter grew harder with each passing day. Snowstorms buried the paths. Ice covered the ground. The cold became sharper than ever before. Sometimes she felt her fingers turning numb. Sometimes her breath became heavy in the freezing air. But she never gave up. There were nights when she could not sleep at all. The wolves howled again and again, their voices coming closer to the house. She sat quietly near the fire, listening to every sound. Fear surrounded her, but courage stayed in her heart. Many years earlier, she had lost her husband. After that, she lost the rest of her family too. Loneliness became her only companion. Yet she continued to live. Even when ice covered the land and danger stood outside her door, she refused to surrender. There were days when the cold felt strong enough to freeze her where she stood. There were nights when the wolves scratched outside the wooden walls. But she survived every winter. She learned how to protect herself. She learned how to endure hunger. She learned how to stay warm with very little. Most importantly, she learned how to stay strong when life became hardest. Years passed, and the old widow continued living in that frozen land. The storms came and went. The wolves came and went. But she remained. She survived not because life was easy. She survived because she never gave up. And in the end, she proved something powerful. Even in the harshest conditions, even in the coldest places, a brave heart can find a way to live. When life becomes harsh and difficult, courage and patience can help us survive any situation. Never give up, even when the world seems cold and against you.